Hello, I'm Marc, I'm the host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and this is a special series during this COVID crisis where we'll be sharing the learnings, best practices, and failures and successes of all the channel leaders throughout the tech industry. So sit back, listen, and enjoy. Hello, I'm Marc, I'm the host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and today I have the pleasure in the virtual studio of having Richard Betts, Chief Revenue Officer of Charterhouse Voice and Data. How are we doing, Richard?
I'm all right, Mark. How are you doing today?
Yeah, pretty good. So, Richard, I want to go straight into it because I did hear that you guys had a bit of a seamless move and you were sort of crisis ready. Maybe literally a flick of a switch, and overnight you were optimized and out into the market and remote work, and it was all seamless. Is that right?
Well, it was. Yes, it was. I mean, the good news is because, of course, we sell this technology. So, the added advantage of selling this technology is you should be able to use it. So we do. So we did a trial run on I think it was the Wednesday of the week before the actual government announcement, and that went really well. We literally closed the office and said nobody come in. That went really well. So then on the Thursday we said, okay, everyone can come in and collect their stuff because we're closing the office.
Wow.
So Thursday we went in there and people just cleared their desks, took whatever they needed, home with them. And that was it. We closed on the Thursday. Friday obviously was a normal working day for most people. Our offices were closed, and then the government announcement come I think on a Sunday or a Monday, didn't it?
Yeah.
So we were already working from home. We already had the technology. We were using all of the stuff, and actually, I think in some respects the business has been better for it. I think everyone's been working well. The technology works great. I mean, it's easy to communicate with people. I think people have enjoyed the fact that they're not commuting. I mean, for our London-based people, that's always a grind, isn't it? Commuting into London. So to not have to do that, that's great news. For our staff up in St Helens, I think they were maybe a bit more local. But it's still better for them. So we've embraced the home working, and in some ways, long may it continue, because actually, I think if you can get it right, it adds a better work-life balance for everybody.
Yeah, and you had the technology already, and you had the tools, etc. Why didn't you think you embraced it before, even though you're selling it and promoting it and you'll use it effectively, but you weren't completely home working before, were you?
No, we weren't. I mean, staff obviously always had the option of kind of spending some time at home, especially the sort of the guys that I look after in sales. Clearly, they're always flexible as to where they're working. So we had the technology and it was working, but I think it was it's a London-based thing. I think is sometimes has a hold on you. People going. A lot of our customers are London-based. A lot of our suppliers and partners have all got London-based offices. In fact, most of our partners, we could almost walk to their offices from Old Street. So actually, it was kind of that hub thing. I think is what probably drove us to be in the office more than we probably needed to be. But I think now we had no choice, and that change has been driven. I think we've now realised actually this is probably the way to go. I mean, we were at the point where we were wondering whether our offices in London were going to be big enough. Now we think, they're easily going to be big enough, because actually we don't need staff to come to the office to work. They can work from anywhere or work from home. We just want staff to come into the office to meet, and that's a different type of sort of world, really. I mean, a different set of set up to our office, and we're looking to change our office around to make it more meeting friendly and less kind of going in there and sitting at a desk and doing your job friendly.
Yeah, do you know what? I've heard that so much, Richard, in the last few weeks, of people saying about offices where they're going to almost have them as sort of social interaction centres, where it feels like, one person come on and said, their kitchen, they're going to expand it, have loads of sofas around, so people can actually have lunch and work and meet at the same time, and meeting rooms and quiet areas. And the days are sort of like banks of desks, and everyone just sitting at their desk and having their cuddly toy there, and that's where they sit, and no one else can sit there. That's sort of gone. And
I think you're
right.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think those days are gone. I mean, I think they were going. I think we were slowly all moving in that direction. This has just accelerated that path, as has, they kind of accelerated the acceptance of video conferencing and all these types of things, all that type of technology now. So I think, it's a good thing. I think But you're right. I mean, we do want to go to the office. I mean, we're all social people, right? So it's nice to be able to go and meet people and talk to people and do that. And I have to say that's the one thing that I miss. It's lovely to walk down the stairs and walk straight into your office, and you can start work whenever you like and finish the same, finish in your home. But you do miss that interaction. You do miss a change of scenery. You do miss being able to go and have a coffee with someone or chat with somebody else. That is difficult.
Yeah. On that piece, the cultural piece of companies, there'll be a lot of companies out there that have invested in ping pong tables and dartboards and, all that sort of stuff. And this is a culture and we're all in it together, et cetera, et cetera. How do you think now your company and companies in general are going to maintain that culture when it's going to be so dispersed and people are going to be going in and out and they're not going to be all meeting together at the same time? How can we maintain culture when we have to sort of work from home now a bit more?
Well, and that's a good question. And the reality is we've got to work hard at it. It's certainly not going to be something that's just a God-given. And I think before that kind of pretty much was it for most companies, wasn't it? You come into the office, you got the vibe of the office, and then you stepped into line with what was going on. Now, I think businesses will have to work at it, and we're going to be doing the same. We've already got a lot of programs that we work with the staff. A lot of communication. We have town hall meetings every week where every employee is invited to listen in. We have lots of different employees talking about what's going on in the company. We share successes. We talk about what people have got going on. Even things like at the beginning of the meeting, we share pictures of people at home with their pets or with their kids, and that's the sort of stuff you've got to do, right? So it engages everyone. And certainly in the early stages of lockdown, at the back end of Friday, we used to have a kind of a drink session where everyone just got on video conferencing and just spent some time just chatting and having a Friday early afternoon drink. So that was nice. Those are the sorts of things that you've got to do. You've got to work at it. You cannot just let this happen, or else there is a danger that people will feel left out.
And what's your view on, just on that? I won't call it forced fun, because people do want to do these sort of things like the pub quizzes and all that sort of stuff. But
that's a definite New Year's Eve for me. Forced fun. It's New Year's Eve, so you've got to have some fun. It's like, really? Have I?
when it sort of came out, it was like in April, everyone's going, yeah, we've got the virtual quiz and the virtual pub and the virtual yoga and the Joe Works workout, and it was massive in April. And it's sort of like the enthusiasm was slightly dying in May, and now I've heard in June, especially for us, we've forgotten it. We've just like, do you know what, let's try and just find a local pub that do takeaways. Let them try and do it. How have you tried to maintain or adapt those sort of events and social interactions that you can keep some sort of culture and keep that communication going? Because it is quite difficult, because the enthusiasm is going to die on,
it is.
Oh my God, Rich is going to do the pub quiz again. It's like,
I think back to my sales team, initially when we're into lockdown, it's like, okay, we need to start, we need to be on this, we need to communicate, we need to talk. So we were having a sales meeting every morning, 8:30, everybody, and then you start thinking, okay, this is overkill now. People need to just get on and be able to do their jobs. So you start to go to 3 times a week, then twice a week. And now, certainly with the sales directors that work for me, it's a once a week event. And it's gone from 2 hours to an hour now. So you end up, you get a balance. And I think when lockdown occurred, when most of us went straight into high intensity work. And actually, I think we're all now starting to find our feet, because this isn't changing anytime soon, right? So we need to work out a sensible sort of balance. And as a business, we're trying to set some sort of guidelines. We're trying to help people to understand what the right sort of work-life balance is, because you do end up with a lot of people, still answering emails at 11 o'clock at night and doing all those sorts of things. And you actually, whilst that shows admirable qualities in your commitment to work, it's not very healthy. And, you're going to be far better off trying to close that laptop up at the end of the working day and just give yourself a break.
Yeah. Have you had any sort of well-being issues in terms of almost what you've alluded to there? You've got people at home now, almost there's no divide between work and home. It's almost like they get up, have their breakfast, and they just work, and suddenly they might think, actually, God, it's 9 o'clock or whatever, and they haven't sort of switched off.
Yeah.
We had any issues of people sort of like not being able to switch off, or really not coping well with actually needing the office because maybe their environment's not set up for home working.
Yeah, and we have had that. So we've helped people out with homework, with setups, so desks, chairs, that type of stuff, to try and make it more accommodating. So we've done that with staff that needed it. I think we haven't had issues insofar as someone said, I'm struggling. The reality is, I think we've all known that we're all struggling. We're all doing it. So, so it's about talking to, the people that work with you, for you, and helping them through it. As you rightly say, you start looking back at a working week and going, holy smokes, I've sat at my desk at 6:30, 7 in the morning. I'm still there at 8 or 9 at night. I've had back-to-back sessions. I could barely get up and go for a pee. It's like, this is madness. No one could ever work like this. And I think that was the same with the sales meetings. As I said earlier, you just, in the end, you start to set a bit of a balance.
It's funny because when on the May bank holiday, I started working. I didn't know it was a bank holiday. I didn't even know. It was like, I got up on the Monday. It's like, right, start working. It's only about 10:30. It's like, Dad, what am I doing? What am I actually doing? It's bank holiday. I shouldn't even be working on this day. It's just crazy.
I know. Well, it's the same with the weekends, right? Initially, it was like, well, what's the weekend? You can't go anywhere. You can't do anything. You can't buy anything. So it's the same.
Do you think, Richard, now the lockdown is easing and the restaurants and the pubs are open and, distractions are going to happen now, do you think you're going to have better productivity? Because, I've been hearing a lot of people saying, oh, it's wonderful working from home and I can be so productive and da. And I'm sort of thinking, yeah, that's because you can't go out anywhere and do anything. When these distractions come out a bit more, do you think it's going to be, we're going to be trusting our employees even more and thinking, oh, actually, it's all perfect? I'm not so sure. What's your view on it?
Well, I'd like to think that I think people are responsible enough to know what's good and what's wrong and what's bad. I think people are going to continue to adapt and do it well. I think I don't think just because you're sat at a desk you're particularly productive. Just because you're sat there, you could be doing lots of things on your computer and they might not be anything to do with work. Yeah. So actually, where you're sat, and even if you're sat in front of a screen, does not define actually the fact that you're working. I'm a big believer in flexible working. I love the idea that people can work where they want and when they want. I think it's a great option to have. It widens your scope for workforce. It allows you to employ people that probably you couldn't employ before, that maybe want flexible hours, have got other commitments to sort of maintain, and it just allows everyone more flexibility. I think if your workforce are happy and they can manage their life better, then as a result, they will be more productive, without a doubt. You do not need to flog people to death with you need to do this. I think trust, encouragement, and a bit of management, and you get the best out of people.
Do you know what? It's funny. I'm embarrassed to say I had now luckily it's a couple of years ago now, but I remember was going to employ someone who, I think they had childcare issues or something like that. They were dropping their child off and they couldn't get into the office till 9:30. And I actually turned them down. I said, oh, actually, that doesn't fit into our culture because everyone's here at 8:30, etc., etc. And the only reason I almost did it was because I thought, oh, everyone else would be looking at me thinking, why am I giving special treatment to this person coming in at 9:30? Because there's no doubt about it that, I'm with you. Flexible working, I think, is great. Work from anywhere, anytime, any approach, as long as you're getting the job done and your customers, you're responsive to them. But it was for the privileged, wasn't it? Remote working and this sort of flexibility was either for senior level before or senior salespeople, or you had to earn the right. Now it's been forced to every newbie, everyone that's joined the company. How do you think now that a newbie will come into a company, say, for instance, a fresh graduate or a junior salesperson, they've come in, they don't know the systems, they don't know everything about the company, they haven't really been mentored or buddied up with someone. How do you think they're going to be able to sort of be embedded into the company and actually good enough to launch and actually get through probation without the interaction from other people and the guidance and the support and the mentoring that normally you'd have all the time in the office?
Yeah, and it's definitely going to be a challenge, isn't it? I mean, it's a strange one for those people that are doing that. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Going back to your point about the privilege, I mean, that it was the whole working from home on a Friday thing, wasn't it? I mean, that was always the why was the office empty on a Friday and there was no sales guys there on a Friday afternoon? You know, that was. I mean, you know, we all knew that was going on, right? So that's been going on for a while. So going back to your question about the newbies, yeah, it's we've all got to change. We've all got to learn how to do these things differently, right? So we've actually recruited people during lockdown. We're hiring now. We're recruiting people now. So we're bringing people into the business, and we have now induction processes that are all online. So, you know, all of the meetings that you would normally do maybe in the office, they're still doing them. They just, you know, they get their laptop, they fire it up at home, and then they do calls like this. So actually, in some respect, and I'd like to think we're doing this very well, we're enabling new recruits to meet far more people, because they can, you know, in the first 3 or 4 days, most of our staff can all find a half-hour gap, right, to meet somebody. So within a week, and new recruit has met, you know, maybe 30 or 40 people in the business. Now, they might have almost had information overload at that point. That's the doorbell and the dogs in the background. That's the beauty of home working. But yeah, I think if you do it well, actually, you can be more productive.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's move on to sort of unified communication and cybersecurity, because there's going to be an issue where people have had to work home and they might not have had a unified communication solution or collaboration tools or whatever it is. But also there's the threat of cyber threats, because they might not have been able to get into their data center, or they might not have had the security. What have you seen as the appetite for customers who haven't had any solutions like that before? They're a bit sort of reluctant to buy them, and but almost like forced to actually sort of think about it now and consider it. So what's been the appetite from you?
Yeah, it's been an interesting situation, isn't it? Because lockdown happened, everyone was forced into trying to get some type of remote working from anywhere, working from home type strategy. Yeah. And some businesses were set up for it, and businesses like ourselves, and you know, and didn't really miss a beat. Others, it was just like, oh my word, what do we do? All of a sudden, everyone's got mobiles, and they're trying to get everyone to take calls. They're trying to divert calls from the office to mobile phones, and it just was a nightmare. So what we found was the initial peak. There was a huge amount of activity in the first month, where people were just panicking. It was like, I've just got to get this sorted. And we put in some very quick solutions. Because we resell cloud-based telephony, we could spin up some instances very quickly that would allow people to divert calls into a cloud-based solution, and then have sort of operators based at home that could actually handle those calls and then pass them off to people on mobiles. So they didn't have to enable the whole workforce, but we could spin up things quickly to get them through that initial hurdle. So we did a lot of that, or enabling remote licensing, so people could work, you know, maybe take their desk phone back to their home office and that sort of stuff. And we did that, and that was incredibly busy. Then of course everyone's sort of gone, okay, we're set. We are where we are. And I think what we're now seeing, or we have done at least for the last, you know, probably 2 months actually, is businesses saying, okay, we need to sort out what we're doing here, because we've got people working from home. So there's a cyber threat. We've seen so many different rise of cyber threat across all of our businesses. So that's, you know, if we're working from home, there's all types of issues with that. And there's the whole, you know, what platform do I use for video calling? What platform do I use for being able to chat? What collaboration tools can I use? And people are starting to say, if I can enable my workforce better and get better technology in, then we're set. So, because of course the reality is, we all hope that there is no second lockdown or second spike, but we should be preparing for it. You know, I know we're all excited about 4th of July and the pubs opening, and then, you know, I'm looking forward to going to the pub, same as everyone else. I'm sure probably won't be able to get to the bar, of course. You start queuing on the 4th and get a beer on the 5th. But the reality is, you know, there could well be a second spike, and there could be a second lockdown. So all of the businesses now, the sensible businesses, are going, okay, we need to do something about this. we can't just rely on diverted to mobile or only accessing our head office systems a certain way. We need to integrate our technologies better and properly. So I think that's where we've engaged in a huge amount of programs around, unified communications, collaboration, and cybersecurity as the kind of the top items on everyone's agenda.
Yeah, and because you're seeing, I mentioned this before, like unified communications doesn't seem that unified to me. There seems to be a lot of companies that are using, some departments using Microsoft Teams, some companies are using whatever, WebEx. I had John Delosier from 8x8 on the show, the global VP.
Yeah, I know John.
Yeah, really nice guy, lovely guy. And he was saying how much more effective he's being at home, etc. But they had the technology, and I actually said to him, I said, but half the people at home don't know how to use the technology or the adoption of that is. So how are you sort of seeing, customers or helping customers actually, once they've got the technology in place, actually helping the user experience and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, and a lot of it is about simple sort of YouTube videos about how to do things. We're all pretty used to just Googling, how do I change the light bulb in my headlight in the car? So why not Google, how do I use this Microsoft Teams, or how do I get Zoom to do this? And actually people are learning that way. So we're able to use the suppliers that we resell. They do a lot of online training, so customers are able to access that information. And we're a premium reseller of 8x8. So they're one of the examples of business that's absolutely set up to do everything online. Yeah. They don't need people to go to site ever. Everything they do that can be done online. And even more traditional businesses like Mitel, who are also, we're a platinum partner of Mitel. They're very good at being able to, and they've adapted brilliantly to the online working and online training. So I think if you've got the technology there, then there's no excuse to not being able to use it properly. The lessons are there, the training is there, and quite frankly, using it every bloody minute of every day. So eventually you'll get used to it. It's a bit like, driving a car. Initially you think, how on earth do I change gear while I'm going along? Then it's, it's second nature to us all. So it's the same, I think, with all of this technology. Yeah. And I think you're right about the unified thing. And we use it all. So actually, we can use all the platforms. So we use Microsoft Teams, we use 8x8, we use Mitel, MyClab. I've got them all running on my laptop, so I could take a call on any of those systems, and then my mobile is diverted to them as well. So we're probably the exception to the rule, because clearly I expect all of the staff, certainly sales staff, to be able to show and demonstrate all of that technology. So we use it all.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Rich, let's move on in general. So there's going to be, unfortunately, customers that won't make it. There's also going to be IT companies that won't make it,
Yeah.
And I'm interested in sort of like Charterhouse Voice and Data's approach now, because I heard that you were potentially on the acquisition trail. And that's interesting during COVID. And I want to sort of know why, one, you're on the acquisition trail, and two, is it during COVID that you're seeing it? Is the opportunity because maybe customers or companies out there may be struggling? You might actually think, this could be a good time to actually grab some market share or other companies.
Well, kind of yes and no. So, actually, the business has been on that sort of trail from when August Equity invested in the business. So the company got additional investment from August Equity early last year. And, it's been actually a chosen path of the business is to build the business through organic growth and acquisition. We bought two businesses at the beginning of the year, Net Connections, which are a headline partner of Extreme Networks, and we bought Lloyd's IP based up in St Helens, which improved our reach geographically. So our plan is to do the same over, so improve our geographical reach, and then improve our technology portfolio. So absolutely, we were kind of hungry on that path before COVID. COVID hit, so clearly, you put everything on hold on the basis of let's just see what goes on here. Yeah. About probably 6 to 8 weeks in, we realised that actually we were going to be okay. The business was doing fine. Clearly some things slowed down, but a lot of things grew like crazy. Certainly anything that we were selling that was cloud based was selling. So it's like, right, we had a board meeting and talked about it and said, well, yeah, it's the right thing to do to get back onto the acquisition path. I think it's I don't want it to feel like it's opportunistic, that people may be struggling, so therefore we're looking. That's not really the case. I think it's just a question of, we have a plan, and we're not letting this get in the way of the plan. I think we can, we're business is still growing. We're still organically growing. So why not look at any other companies that can add to the portfolio?
And what sort of company would be an ideal acquisition for you guys?
Well, I don't know if there is an ideal, but I think certainly the two that we've already bought fit the box perfectly. With Net Connections, they bring in a high level of expertise in Extreme Networks. They're the premier partner of Extreme. I think they're number one partner in the UK at the moment. So they brought a whole new technology to us that we weren't engaged with Extreme at all in our other businesses. And then with Lloyd's, obviously, it was geographical reach. So other geographies that sell in other areas of the country where they're selling similar sort of portfolio of product to us, or new technologies. I think, obviously the Microsoft Teams piece is absolutely prolific now. We've got our own Microsoft Teams portfolio product. We've launched that 2 weeks ago, Fusion Teams, which comes in 3 flavors. So we're talking to our base about which options they might want to take in relation to Microsoft Teams. But yeah, Microsoft Teams is definitely an area. And then cybersecurity again. We've got our own cybersecurity practice, but if we can bolster that up with other acquisitions, that would be great too.
Yeah, great. And my last question, Richard, is it obviously COVID's affected everyone? Half the time I don't want to talk about COVID on this channel chat because I've had so many conversations about it, but I have to in the end. What are the main lessons that you've learned through COVID that you'll think, do you know what? We will stick with these sort of lessons when we get post-COVID, or hopefully post-COVID. Hopefully it's not a second wave, like you said. So what's the lessons you've learned and what you'll carry on?
Well, I think that the number one thing, I think, is that it's changed the working patterns of the business. So, we've already talked about that extensively. So, the ability for our staff to work wherever they want and within reason, whenever they want. And I think that's the number one factor. I think that will increase staff morale, productivity, commitment to the business. So I think that's the number one thing. I think that for us, we were obviously, as I said, lucky that we use cloud-based technology. But clearly, for anybody else, why would you not be investing in cloud-based technology? Hopefully, we never have anything like this again. But there are other circumstances that could occur where you want the flexibility in your workforce. So, we have to move towards that sort of cloud-based environment. I think. I think those are probably the kind of work-related things that have probably we've recognised the most. From a personal perspective, it's been nice to have dinner with my family every night for a few months. That's been nice, rather than phoning and saying I've missed the train at Waterloo and the next one's delayed and I'll be home at 8:45.
Yeah, your wife had that excuse every time. Yeah,
exactly.
Of course you missed the last train home. Of course you had.
Yeah, because I was up in that wine bar up at the top platform.
Oh dear. Richard, look, you've been a great guest. Thanks very much for your time.
You're welcome. Good to see you.
Thanks for joining us and listening to another episode of our Channel Chat podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard and are listening on iTunes, please could you give us a review and subscribe in order to get the newest episodes as soon as they're released. Otherwise, as always, we release an episode every Thursday at midday, so hopefully you can join us then.